Hey everyone, welcome back to OdinSchool. Have you ever created a to-do list for yourself? What if I told you that by the end of this video, you will be building your very own task manager app, just like this. So as you can see here, right, we have a task manager. We can add a task, let's say run application, and add task. You can see run application is added here. So these are the process steps we are going to do: create task manager, install VS Code, install Chrome browser, write HTML, write CSS, add action with JavaScript, and run the application. And your task manager is done. So these are the steps we are going to follow. Okay. So now it's super simple but super useful, and all you need is just basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript knowledge to make it happen. Okay. So tools and technologies what we'll be using is HTML, which will help us to structure our app, allowing us to create things like input fields and buttons, as you can see here, right? And we'll be using CSS, will make everything look amazing. And JavaScript will add the functionality. So when we click on add task, we'll be able to add task in our task manager. Okay, right? Before we start, so tools what we required: a simple code editor like VS Code or Sublime Text or WebStorm or IntelliJ IDEA or PyCharm, it's your choice. But I'll recommend VS Code. And also we want Google Chrome to test our application. Okay, now let's go ahead and jump in and start writing the code.
But before that, make sure to like, share and subscribe to the channel.
We'll just open VS Code. I'm gonna open any of the folder and we can create one project. Okay, and within this we are going to create a new file, index.html. okay, because we are going to write HTML here. Now quickly we'll generate the boilerplate. Okay, so this is doc type HTML, HTML lang, in, right, and then meta character set. Here we are setting the character encoding for the document. This is to ensure, the next line is to ensure the meta tag name viewport content width equal to device width initial scale 1.0, ensuring the web page is responsive to different screen size. The title we are going to add is Task Manager App. And now rest of the content will start adding the HTML part of Task Manager. So before we do, we'll add one more file which will be for CSS, the look and feel. So I'm going to add style.css. Now this style.css, we are going to write all the CSS which will make our app look beautiful. Now, first of all, we are going to have main container for the task manager. We're going to add div, and I'll add a class where I'm going to add CSS for it, task manager. Okay, and then we'll have a heading, the title of the application. So I'll write here task manager. Now after this, I'm going to add input box. To add an input box, I'm going to add input tag, type equal to text. ID will keep task input. Placeholder, we are going to add a new task. Now that we have added the input box, we want to have a button so that we can add the task. So let's go ahead and create a button. We'll give ID of add task button. Add task. This is what the text will be appear on the button. This is the container. So to apply some CSS, I am going to add a class input container. Now I'm going to have once my task is added, I want to display the task. So to display the task, I am going to have unordered list here. So UL, this block is going to hold the task items. So I'll just write here UL ID equal to task list. Now after this, we are going to add the script tag. Script.js. Now we will be adding this script is where we are going to do actions using JavaScript. So we'll go ahead and create a new file. We'll write script.js. Now also we'll link CSS. So we'll write here link CSS. Now that we have added, let's go ahead and add CSS for Task Manager. So before that, we'll run and see how my application is looking. Now you can see we have Task Manager and Add Task button is there. But at this moment, nothing is happening because we haven't added any of the action. Also, this is looking very simple. So let's add some colors and styling. So first of all, we want to apply box model to all the elements. So let's apply star. Okay. And we'll be adding border box. Margin of 0. Let's have some margin of 0. No margin so that it will look nice. And padding of 0. Font family. Let's go ahead and have Arial and its family. Yeah. Now what we'll do is we'll try to add style to the center of the screen. So let's do body. We are going to have a background color. So let's take some random color. F. Okay. And this is kind of light background of the body. And of course we are going to use flex box. So display flex. We are using flexbox for layout, and we'll also justify content to center so that we can bring it center content horizontally, and we are going to align items, and that will be also center so that we can bring the content at the center vertically. Now we are going to have height, which will be 100 VH. So we are actually setting height to 100% of the viewport. Next, let's go ahead and see. So it is coming in the center. Now we'll add styling to our container, which is the task manager. So let's go ahead and add styling. So we'll add here dot task Manager, this is the class name. We represent using dot and background color, which is white. Also, we are going to add some padding of 20 pixel and have a border radius of 10 pixel. Border radius will help us to have the border in the rounded corners. Now next is box shadow. So we are going to add box shadow, add subtle shadow for depth. So 8 pixel. Let's have a 16 pixel and RGBA of 0, 0, 0 and alpha is 0.1. Okay. Now next is we'll add some text align to bring the text at the center. We'll have some width. So let's have 350 pixel. We are setting the width of the container. Now let's go ahead and check whatever CSS we have applied. Is it appearing? Yes, it is appearing. Now next is we are going to look into our HTML. So next CSS is input container. So we are trying to style the container holding the input and the button. So we'll go ahead and add the class input container, display flex, so that we display input and button in a row, and then we have justify content. We are going to have a center so that we can center them horizontally, and align item so that we can center them vertically. Next, we will add some margin at the bottom, which is 20 pixel. Now let's go ahead and check. So input container. Now let's do one thing. We are going to style my input. We can change the border of this input as well, and we can apply some color on focus. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll write input and we'll say type. If input has type of text, then only you apply this style. And we are going to have width, which will be 70%. So we are setting input field to take 70% width, and rest of the area we want to keep it for button. Now we are going to add padding, and we'll say 12 pixel. Next we are going to have a border and 2 pixel of border, which is solid, and also we'll add some color here, kind of green border. So okay, now we are going to add border radius. So we want to make that round shape. Border of the input field. Next we are going to remove the default outline. So we'll make outline to none. And then we are going to add font size, which will be 16 pixel. Now after this we want to have some little bit of a smooth transition for focus effect. Let's go ahead and add transition, which is all and 0.3 second, and ease. Let's save it. You'll see that our input box is changed. Now let's go ahead and change the color when input is focused. So we'll add input, type of text. Okay. Also we'll say : focus. Now we are going to have a border color, and we are going to have a color like 45A049, kind of a little darker green compared to the before. So it is little light and this one will be dark. Now let's go ahead and have a look. When I focus, very little, you can observe very little transition we can see. Yes, and that's what I just want to have, a very little transition here. So if you observe, your little color is changing, very little. Okay, right. Now next, come back and we are going to have a button, and let's go ahead and style our button. We are going to add padding, and we'll say 12 pixel on 20 pixel, right? Okay, so that padding inside the button have 12 pixel and 20 pixel. And background color, we are going to have again the same color, which is this one. Just copy and paste, which is 4CAF50, kind of green. We are going to have a color which is white, or we can have has FFF. Next is we are going to have a border. We are going to remove border. Let's remove border to and set it to none. And border radius, let's make it 50 pixel. Also, we are going to add margin left, and let's have a 10 pixel. Now also we are going to have a cursor pointer, so that when we take the mouse, when we hover it, it will appear as a pointer. Now we are going to have a transition, very smooth transition. We are going to have all 0.3 second and ease. Now we are going to add here button overt and background color, which is this color we are going to use. So we are changing the button color when it is overt. Okay, and now it's time to add some. So now if you see, this is in the same line, same row, because we have used the flex. Also, you can see we can just have add button instead of add task. So let's go ahead and say add. Or let's have add task also, that is fine. And now next is what we'll do. We'll go ahead and start writing our JavaScript part. How can we write JavaScript? So we'll get inside our script file, and then we are going to add JavaScript here. How can we add JavaScript? So based on the class, we are going to identify the item and we are going to add. So in this case, if I want to access, we are going to access via ID. ID input, ID button, and ID task list. So this is our CSS part. Now, this is our CSS part. Now, here we are going to write our JavaScript in the respective file. Now, if you observe, what we'll do is we are going to have const add task button, and we are going to access using document.getElement by ID. So add task button. Then we are going to have task input, task input, right? So we have here, if you can see, we have task input, we have add task button, and we have task list. So let's go ahead and add task list also. We are going to say task list document.getElement by ID, which is task list. Now add task on button click. How can we write that? So let's go ahead and write, we have add task button. On this we are going to add event listener, which will accept the event. So click event, and also the callback function. Now this function, let's say we have this function, and this function we are going to first, whatever input is entered, we are going to trim it off, because we can add spaces. So task test task input dot value dot trim. Now this will remove the leading space, and we are going to have check if task is empty and you're trying to submit. See that we'll put empty. If it is empty, then we are going to alert saying that please enter task. Please enter task. And we are going to return it. Now, if I have some text in the task, now next what we'll do is, first of all, we are going to take the task item. Task item equal to document dot, if you observe here, we have this task list. So task list, we are going to have, or we are going to add new task, right? So for that we need to add inside our task list, we need to have the item. So for that we'll go ahead and create an element which is li, because this is UL. Within this UL we are going to add LIs. Let's come back here, and then we'll create element, and I'll put here li. Now task item dot inner HTML equal to, we'll go ahead and add button. So we'll say task text and we'll also have a button so that we can delete the task. So delete task, and then we'll be closing. Now we are going to take this li and append inside the UL, inside my task list, which is this one. We'll come back and we'll start writing task list dot append child to have your task item. Now task input dot value equal to empty. We are trying to clear, after my task is added, we are trying to clear the input. That's what we are doing here. Now when my task is added and it's appearing in the list, we are going to toggle task and we are going to On click of the task, we are going to complete the task. So we have task item, and then we are going to have add event listener. On click, we're going to have a callback function. Within this, we'll pass task item dot class list dot toggle, and then we'll make it completed because we are trying to add a class completed, and we'll add respective CSS here accordingly. Okay. Now next, what we'll do, if I want to delete the task, so I'm going to say on click of a respective button beside the task which we are adding, on click of that button, we are going to delete it. So I'll go ahead and create a variable which is delete button equal to task item dot query selector, and I'll just access is by class. So delete task, and also I'll be going ahead and adding event listener on it, so that when we click, we can do some functionality. We have function here, and then we are going to remove. So task item dot remove. Now that our JavaScript is ready, the only thing what we are pending is the CSS. The delete task CSS completed, right? So let's go ahead and add couple of CSS, and also we are going to add the UL CSS. So to add UL CSS, we'll go ahead and say UL and list style of none, because it will appear as a bullet point. So we don't want that to appear. Padding, which we are going to keep 0 at this moment, so that we remove the default padding. And then we have li. So li, so that we can style our items. So we are going to add here background color of as F9, so that some light gray background for each task we have. We'll add padding of 12 pixel. Also we'll add some margin bottom. Margin bottom, why we'll add? Because I want the space below each task. So let's go ahead and add. Next is the border radius, so that our task border is rounded, having rounded corner. Next is, of course, we are going to use display flex, because we want the li item and the button should be in the row. So we are going to say display flex. Next is justify content, and we are going to add space between. Now so that we have some space between the task text and the delete button, and we will also align the item, which will keep center. And next is, we are going to add border left, so that it will look a little kind of px solid. Towards left side we have some border, and it will look nice. We are underlining it by having the border at the left side. So transition, we'll add some very little transition, which is 0.3 second. Also we'll add, this will give us smooth transition for state change. Now let's go ahead and add the completed. So li dot completed. Now we are going to have a text decoration of line through, right? If it is completed, once we click on it, so that we can see this task is done. So it's strike through text for completed one. Now color, we are going to give some color, gray color if it is completed, and border left will also appear. 5 pixel solid, and let's say kind of gray, light strips. Now we also should have a style for deleting button, right? So to delete, we should have a button, and that button style goes here. Background color has F4436 kind of a red, and then we'll have border of none, color of white. Let's say we have padding, some spacing we want within the button, so 6 pixel and 10 pixel. Also we'll have border radius so that we have nice round shape. So let's go ahead and do 50% this time. And next is we are going to have cursor pointer. Now next is we are going to change the delete button color on over. So delete task : over. Let's change the background color so that we see that over changes E53935. So we added our CSS. Now let's go ahead and have a look. Now we'll go ahead and have a look. If I refresh, you will see that we have nice green color task manager, an input box, and a button. So what we did in the JavaScript, we added event listener. Okay. Now let's go ahead and try to add task. So we'll say task 1, and we'll click on add. You can see the task is added, and this is the left border which is giving us a very nice look. So task 1 got added. Let's go ahead and add task 2. So task 2 got added. Let's go ahead and add one more task, task 3, and click add task. Now that we can see the task is getting added. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and start clicking on the task to mark it completed. So once we click, you can see the task is completed. The strike through is here. If I want to complete another task, I'll click on it, and you can see that strike through is here. Now let's say if you want to delete the task, so let's go ahead and close. As you can see, the task 1 got deleted. And that's it. That is your task manager application. We just built a simple but effective task manager using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now it's your turn to try it out. Feel free to tweak the design and more features like editing tasks, or even use local storage to save tasks. I would love to see how your task manager app turns out. Let me know in the comments. If you built it or have any questions, please drop in the comment, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more hands-on coding tutorials like this one. See you next time.